From another world to the business world to the world of farming, we are covering some ground today on CNN 10. I'm Carl Azuz from the CNN Center, happy to have you along with us. For the first time, 2 rovers from Earth have reportedly landed on an asteroid not from Earth. The Japanese space agency JAXA says it recently made history by putting the unmanned exploration robots on the asteroid's surface. First, the mission. Its cost is estimated at $150 million. It launched in December of 2014 and finally got near the asteroid this summer. And it's Japan's second mission of this kind. The last one, to a different asteroid, was able to bring some samples back to Earth, but it had some technical failures with its rover. The asteroid itself is more than 100 million miles away from Earth, and Japan's goals this time around include getting detailed information about the rock's surface, using explosives to gather material from just beneath that surface, and then bringing samples back to Earth by the end of 2020. A total of 3 rovers will be used to do all this. The vehicles themselves aren't particularly big. The spacecraft that got them there is about the size of a large refrigerator, so the rovers it carried are smaller than that. These vehicles don't drive over the rock's surface like an interplanetary dune buggy. Rather, they hop, jumping almost as high as 50 feet at a time. The asteroid they're on is just over half a mile wide. Scientists think it's rich in water and organic materials, and that the samples they get from it will help advance their knowledge of solar system science. If everything goes according to plan, JAXA says this will be the first sample return mission to this type of asteroid. NASA has a similar mission that it's planning, but that one isn't due back to Earth until the year 2023. 10-second trivia. Which of these radio companies is the oldest? Pandora, SiriusXM, Spotify, or iHeartRadio? Pandora, which dates back to the year 2000, was established years before the others on this list. What do you get when you add 70 million active users of one radio company to 36 million subscribers of another? The biggest audio entertainment company in the world. That's what the CEO of SiriusXM says about his company's purchase of Pandora. SiriusXM is a satellite radio company that was formed in 2008 when the Sirius and XM radio services merged. It offers music, news, talk, and sports, along with a number of personalities for subscribers to listen to, and it makes most of its money from those subscribers. Pandora is a streaming music service that was founded in the year 2000. It makes most of its money from advertisers. So why would Sirius want to buy Pandora? Well, most of those who subscribe to Sirius listen through their cars. The company wants more listeners in more different places than that, and it believes that buying Pandora is the way to get there. Sirius already owned 19% of Pandora's stock from a purchase made last year. It's spending $3.5 billion to buy Pandora entirely, also through stock. The deal still has to be reviewed by the company's shareholders and by the U.S. government. If it gets the go-ahead, it's expected to be completed early next year. Aeroponics is a word you don't hear too much outside of agriculture. It's a method of growing plants. It's been around for more than half a century. It doesn't use soil, and that makes it possible to cultivate fresh produce where there is no usable soil. There are a number of downsides, though. For one thing, aeroponics uses specific equipment that has a high startup cost. Aeroponic systems may require artificial light, so energy costs can be higher. And the system is pretty sensitive. A lot can go wrong if the air, the water, or the fertilizer isn't just right. Also, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has ruled that aeroponically grown produce cannot be considered organic. So what are the upsides?
In the arid desert of the United Arab Emirates, temperatures can reach up to 50 degrees Celsius. Growing crops is almost impossible, but could new cutting-edge technology change all that? The people behind Al Saad Farm, almost 2 hours drive west of Abu Dhabi, think so. The Fog Engineers, a spray nozzle manufacturer in Japan, have developed a cultivation system specifically for the Middle East's harsh climate. They've started growing Japanese varieties of tomatoes and strawberries without using any soil by spraying a fine fog mixed with liquid fertilizer directly onto the roots of the plants.
Because we spray nutrient and fertilizer into a very fine fog, plant root can get enough oxygen as well as fertilizer.
A pressure pump with special nozzles makes the fine fog. It can produce 10 times more crops than traditional farming methods, and even controls the amount of water and nutrients each plant gets. A fine fog sprayed from the roof also acts as a cooling system. With dwindling reserves, water security is a growing and pressing problem throughout the Middle East. And so is food security. The United Arab Emirates imports up to 90% of its produce. Futuristic farming methods, which see crops grown locally all year round, is set to be a game changer in how countries like the United Arab Emirates sources its food. Samuel Burke, CNN.
There is a positive athlete in Fresno, California. Well, there's probably more than one, but the one we're featuring today is all about tennis and getting more kids interested in the sport. The way that Jordan Pickett went about that is the reason why she's a CNN positive athlete, someone who's making a difference on and off the court.
I just learned how to string rackets, but it's really hard. My first racket took me 1 hour and 45 minutes to string. I think that was the wrong string. My name is Jordan Pickett. I'm 17 years old and I go to Clovis North High School, and I'm a tennis player. Tennis rackets, when you're young, they can cost, $30 to $40, but as you get older and start to move into adult rackets, they can cost like about $200. And if you go through a racket every 1 or 2 years, that's a lot of money. All right, so I'm releasing the tension on this, and then I just go through the string to make sure there's no knots. I read an article about an athlete who was a runner who started a fundraiser for running shoes, and I thought, that'd be a great idea. And I decided to gather tennis rackets to donate to the Inspiration Park Boys and Girls Club. That looks good for you.
When I had my own racket, I was like, I could play tennis.
Here you go, buddy.
And it's such a sport I have never played before.
Ooh.
I mean, it's inspiring to see a young lady come out and just on her own do this.
Oh, nice shot, nice shot.
Out of the kindness of her heart, just to give back to the community.
Tap it back to me, okay? They had the biggest smiles on their faces, and they just wanted to run out there and play tennis, and one of them goes, I'm gonna be a professional tennis player when I grow up. I was like, you know what? Me too. My bad. This year will be my second year as team captain. Nice. We've had some pretty successful seasons. We're back-to-back Valley champions, kind of looking for a third Pete. Yes, good job. My dream college would be UC Davis. I want to work with animals, so I'd love to be a vet, and that's a great school to go to.
For 10 out of 10, we are taking you under the sea. At first, this looks like one thing, an oversized rippling tadpole maybe, but then it morphs into another right before your very eyes. And then it seems to kind of shake it off before it swims off. Recorded in the Pacific by the crew of the EV Nautilus, scientists say this is a gulper eel, a creature that can change its shape to avoid predators. It's called a gulper eel because its jaws are much bigger than its body, and they can be unhinged like those of some snakes to gulp large prey, which would probably gulp and get seasick with an eely feeling if it saw one. There's always something fishy about these eels. The problem is you just never know what kind of shape they'll be in. I'm Carl Zeus, and that's CNN 10. We'll see you tomorrow.